What is going on, everybody? So, it's been a heck of a couple of days on the old YouTubes, on this channel, and on the main channel, talking about Epiphone stuff, talking about uh, economics, talking about uh, the mentality of various economics, etc. So, it's gotten me thinking about some stuff, and I really want to kind of get y'all's viewpoint on some things. No wrong answers here, right? Just having a conversation and asking some questions. I think that's a constructive way, I think, to have the conversation that I want to have, is just to ask some thought-provoking questions. I'll give you my feelings on it, but really thinking about, well, let's just get into it, okay? Obviously, you have a less expensive instrument and a more expensive one, right? If the cheaper one does 90% of what the other one does, then what exactly are you paying for? Fair question. Any economics involved, anything involved, any situation involved, it's a fair question. Whether you can afford it or not, it's a fair question, right? It's just a fair question. It makes sense. I understand why people ask it. So here's my questions. These are some things that I've been thinking about. First of all, are guitar purchases financial decisions or are they emotional decisions, right? So, like, you have things that could cross over, right? If you buy a sports car versus buying a family car, right? Um, so, is it a financial decision or an emotional decision? Buying stock, buying a lawnmower, buying toilet paper, buying a new wristwatch. There's another one. It could be a it could be for fun. Most of the time it is for me. Or it could be, you know what, I need to tell the time tomorrow. Right? So what percentage then for most of us? Now I know most people, there's a lot of people that use them as a tool, right? But for the majority of us, we don't play for a living. So is it a financial decision or is it an emotional decision? And what drives that for you? That's what I want to know. Okay. For me, it's emotional, 100%. Now there are certain things that I'll buy for the channel, but if I'm talking about for myself, I want a thing because there's a story, there's a history, this certain person played it, there's a connection to my family or what, like those kinds of things. And all of my hobby stuff is really driven mostly towards that. So I would say I am 75-25 emotional, in and most other kind of factors. Okay. And if we're pretending that they're purely just a rational decision, are you just coping for the fact that you don't want to admit that it's an emotional decision? Because that happens too, right? And I'm not accusing anybody or anything. And just when we think about the decisions we make, I'm just curious. The second question I would ask is, do the tech specs that people look for the money predict happiness with the instrument? Okay, so if you want stainless frets and it has stainless frets, therefore, does that fulfill all the needs? If it has locking tuners, then all of a sudden, coil splits, whatever, all of a sudden you're totally happy with that guitar and there's no reason to have anything else. Now, for some people that might be true, but for a lot of folks, I think that it's probably not. I think that it's a thing that we talk about, so then we think we need it, but we don't actually usually need it. Therefore, we think it's functional, but it's actually an emotional decision to get something with stainless frets, etc., etc. I don't know, okay? That's how it is for me. I don't want to speak for you. Obviously I want to respect how you feel about it. But be honest with yourself, and if you're going to talk about this in the comments, be honest about it. Like, there's no wrong answer, and I think it's totally okay for people to admit that they make an emotional decision about a piece of art, about a thing that they use to create art. That's what it's for, right? Is to convey emotion. That's what we're doing. We're making music, right? So Okay. Because here's the catch-22 about this. Is this. We say we want various tech specifications. But why do people lust after worse stuff? So, vintage instruments aren't as good. Okay? Vintage specs technically aren't as good. Vintage stuff, like, people really want that stuff. And that's emotional, right? People want, I don't know. Like, there are a lot of things that are worse. Uh, you know, old school Gibsons, old school Strats, a lot of old school stuff is objectively worse. So that means that, are we being honest with ourselves about it being I'll tell you right now, to buy a vintage instrument for me is 100% emotional. I don't care about tech specs. I don't care if it's worse. Jack White doesn't care if it's worse. Um, you know, uh, Kurt Cobain didn't care if it's worse. All these people played crappy guitars, right? So, excellent examples of those kinds of things, right? There's a lot of musicians that made a lot of amazing music on terrible stuff. Objectively, when you're looking at specs and stuff. So, if tech specs really are supposed to guarantee that we want this guitar and it gives us a reason for it because we technically want something, then how does that equate? How does that compare? Okay, that's another question that I have. The term value, and I've been thinking about this a lot. I didn't use it a whole lot in the video yesterday about the Epiphone versus Gibson stuff, because value is really, really, really relative to either you or I, right? Like, what you value about something is different. I value heritage and history, and I want a piece of that history, and that holds value to me, and I have to pay for that a lot of times, right? You might value the technical thing, right? I'll give you an example. Let's go back to the watch thing again, okay? Nobody, probably anybody that knows what they're talking about, will value an old Rolex Submariner. Okay, they're about $10,000 or $12,000. Okay, for its timekeeping ability, right? This, I don't know what this thing is. $400. This Citizen Echo Drive that I've had beating. This is my beater watch. I've had it for 12 years. It's way more accurate than a Rolex Submariner, right? But that watch is more valuable. Why? It might not be more valuable to you. The word value on a guitar is almost kind of the wrong word, because there's no standard for it, right? Value. There's no standard for the word value. On an instrument, on anything that is super, super relative, and really subjective, right? So value shouldn't even be a thing. It's either you're willing to pay the money for it or you're not. If you're willing to pay the money for it, then it's worth it to you. If I'm not willing to pay the money for it, then it's not worth it to me. I'm not willing to pay the money for some inexpensive guitars that you are willing to pay the money for, and vice versa, for different reasons, right? So value is a weird word to use for guitars. So why do we use the word value? Here's my question. Another question. If two guitars sound basically the same, but one is $500 and one is $2,000, or one is $2,500, does craftsmanship matter? Does it matter? Technically, maybe not. And this is where people say, well, inexpensive guitars have gotten so much better. And they have. So the technical side, the non-emotional side, says, yeah, inexpensive guitars have gotten so good that you could probably, play two of them in a mix and Might have to mess with some knobs a little bit, but you could probably you could fool somebody. We've seen all the videos, right? We've seen the A/B tests and all that kind of stuff, and that's what people want to live and die on the internet is the A/B test. So I get it, you know. Um, so does the craftsmanship matter? Does the quality of the guitar matter? Does the finish on the guitar matter? Now we could say technically no, but emotionally, I don't want that guitar because I don't like it. Or do want that guitar because I do like it. That's just 100% emotional. I guess what I'm getting at is here, for me personally, these decisions are very rarely about how technically good or bad something is, and more how much the thing moves me, right? And I think that most people, I really believe that if people are really honest, and I believe in humans, right? Like I'm not a cynic about this. I really believe in humans, and I think that they love what they have. They love what they do. You know, everybody loves their guitar, obviously, because they're very passionate about it when they speak about it on the internet. But why? Right? Why? Does your emotion drive you to a different place? I bet it does. And this is why I'm asking these questions, because this is all us just being a bunch of friends talking about guitars and why we love them. Okay? Really what this comes down to is, why do you love what you have? Why do you love what you have chosen to spend your money on? Is it emotional? Is it technical? Do you actually love it, or is it just a tool? Do you actually love your guitar? Do you actually love playing guitar? Do you actually love music? Do you actually, you know what I mean? Like I guess that's what I'm getting at here. Are we buying an object or a tool like a screwdriver or a hammer? Or are we buying something that we are going to not only create stories with, but it may already have a story, right? You buy a vintage instrument, it's already got a story. You might not know what it is. You know, that there's that kind of that theory that, you know, you pick up a guitar and you're like, dang, this thing is amazing. There are songs in this guitar. They just haven't come out yet. You know, that feeling, that's a feeling. That has nothing to do with fretwire, right? That's a feeling. Like, there's songs that are about to come out of this guitar. And this is where I really want to spend my time thinking about it, is, will this guitar give me some songs? Does this guitar make me want to play? Am I just buying a tool, or am I buying a story that either has it in the guitar already and then I'm extracting it, or that I am about to write my own story with this guitar? Because that's what music is, right? It's not fretwire. It's not finish. It's not where the guitar was made. It's not any of that. It's the story, in my opinion. Now, you may 100% disagree, and I want to hear about that if you do. I have no challenge for that. I have no argument for that. There's no wrong answers in this conversation. I'm just simply asking the questions so we can talk about it. Is emotional connection to a guitar a legitimate feature? I think it is. If you don't have it, you know, if it doesn't have it, it doesn't have it. End of story, right? And this, to me, is why I choose to not go down the road of various types of guitars, and why I choose to go down the road of various other guitars. Not because I'm a snob, but they just don't interest me. You know, this is also in my other hobbies. Okay, so in the knife hobby, for example, there are a litany of brands made in China that are amazing. The workmanship is incredible. These knives are amazing. Same thing with watches, made in China. Really incredible workmanship, reasonably priced. But what happens is, it's almost like you can just tell from across the room that that's what it is. So it doesn't excite me, because it's not I'm not emotionally drawn to it, because I'm like, well, I've seen that before. That's like it just doesn't invoke any emotion in me. Therefore, I am not interested. And so that's really kind of the way it is with some guitars, and I'm sure it's like that with you too. You probably have certain instruments that you're just like, I'm not even interested in X or Y. It just doesn't. I don't feel it. You know. So I think that I think an emotional connection is a legitimate feature, and if that guitar you are going to play more and use more because of that emotional connection, is it worth paying for? Is it worth paying for an emotional connection? Next question, the opposite of this. Do the folks that just chase specs, I'm looking for this specification, and I don't want to spend any more than this, do they even like guitars? Okay. There are some people, and I really don't want this to sound hateful or anything, but you know these folks. So I know you know some people like this, that it's almost more about getting the deal. It's almost like, dude, guess how much I saved when I bought this, than it is actually enjoying the thing. That's different than somebody who enjoys building, enjoys, like, there's people that build guitars that don't even play. I've taught people to wind pickups who don't even know how to play guitar, but they love it. They love doing it. That's different. I'm talking about people who are just in the hobby of getting the deal. Do they even like the guitar? That's my question. Further into that end, if every decision becomes what is the best value for the money, then when does the optimization of the dollar cross over into a point where it kills the joy in the hobby? No matter what hobby it is. If you're trying to optimize the dollar, if that's what your main concern is, then do you personally have any even passion about the thing anymore, or are you more concerned with optimizing the dollar? That's a question. It's just literally a question I have, and I don't have I don't know that there's an answer for it. You know what I mean? Like, these are just things that I've been thinking about. I literally made a list of all these questions because I'm just like, this is things that I've been thinking about. Would you marry somebody or date somebody based on a spec sheet? I mean, let's face it. You can click on a box, click some boxes, go into a doctor, and come out with whatever specs you want in 2026. Would you do that? Good question. When I married Leslie, I definitely had a list of things I didn't want, and she doesn't have any of those things. So maybe there's a place for that, because my wife is awesome. Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe. Do cheaper guitars expose overpriced things, or do they is that perception a result of the fact that there is maybe a misunderstanding or a difficulty in valuing workmanship and cost? I think there's a big misunderstanding about how much things cost, and I think Asia has caused that, because of they're very good at it, and they've made it very efficient, and you know what I mean, they've mechanized, they've made an art of mechanizing this manufacture of musical instruments to a point where it's like there is this huge delta between, hey guys, over here we like actually use a sander and we actually do stuff with our hands, and there's an art to this, but at the end, the average consumer has sort of lost touch with that, right? Like, you click anything on Amazon and it's at your house in an hour. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of lose touch with it. And I'm not saying we've even done it on purpose. Like, again, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying we've done it we've not even done it on purpose. It's happened to us almost, right? What is your perception, and where is the line between a luxury and a ripoff? Okay. Some folks would say anything above an actual necessity is a luxury, right? I don't know what the definition is. I didn't look it up. But let's face it, musical instruments are a luxury. None of us need them. Okay, and you're gonna say, "Well, I need it for therapy." Okay, I get that, but for the most part, musical instruments are a luxury item. We don't need them to live. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So they are by nature a luxury. But now you take a luxury item, okay? And for example, a Les Paul was always marketed as a luxury item. It was never marketed as a working man's guitar. The Telecaster and the Stratocaster were never marketed as the working man's guitar. That is a farce. People think that, but it is not true. If you listen to the early marketing of especially the Stratocaster, that was not the case. Those were supposed to be premium items as well. So, premium stuff. Premium stuff. Questions? Let me know what you think. Do smart buyers secretly resent emotional buyers? I'll leave you with that one. Let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.